Now we are rolling. Tania Smith, thanks for coming back on the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Taylor.
You've been putting up so many great reels, and I'm just like, man, I got to talk to Tania again.
Well, it was on your podcast. We had a good talk last time.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. How's life been treating you? What's going on in your world?
It's been good. It's been good. I've been doing a lot of teaching. I've had a lot of people want to learn more about meditation, learn more about the kind of energy healing I do. So I've been teaching retreats. I've got some private students that are doing the 3-year program in learning to be a Tibetan energy healer. I'm trying to work on a meditation library to get up online for people, and I'm still doing some music and some jewelry whenever I can.
When you say you're trying to get a library up on YouTube, is it going to be meditation music?
It's going to be meditation music that I call them meditative soundscapes, because they have meditation music that I have composed, but then they also have guided meditations. And each meditation is one might be on manifestation, one might be on forgiveness, one might be on healing, reducing anger, balancing your energy field, all different kinds of things that people can then just go in and search and find something in the moment that they need it.
Mm-hmm. Why do I get frustrated by guided meditations?
I don't know. Why do you get frustrated by guided meditations? Maybe they're not the right ones that take you where you want to go.
I feel like they interrupt me.
There you go. Maybe you're not a guided meditation meditator. Maybe you are just, meditate, go beyond your thoughts. There's all kinds of different kinds of meditation. So I think we talked about that last time. So I think some of it is just finding what works for you, finding what speaks to you, and finding what gives you the result that you want. So if something's frustrating you, that's definitely not the meditation for you.
There's nothing, I've had it. Listen, I've had it happen. I do a guided meditation and I start to kind of find this place I want to be. And then the voice comes back on and I'm like, you just took me out. And then I realized, how can you be meditating and be annoyed at the same time?
Well, you just gave me a good idea. I'm going to do a meditation called stillness, and I'm going to guide the person, guide you down into that place, and then just leave you and just have music. Maybe that's a good meditation to have.
Now that's beautiful.
You've helped me today.
Yes. Well, I'm glad I can be of service.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. So this idea of mindfulness, what is mindfulness to you?
It's being 100% present in every moment. And ultimately, with a heart of compassion, it's driving the boat.
Okay, so I know that sometimes people say that it's just kind of a frou-frou word, but it's the most important concept for me right now, is how to be 100% present.
Right. And the more you meditate, the better you'll be at it, because the mind wants to do all of this all the time. So you get drug off, and we all get drug off. That's why finding those moments of stillness is so important, because it helps us to then have that laser focus when we need it, so that we're using that part of our mind that can think and reason and do all the things, rather than that running the show all the time. Because as you know, how many choices are there in the universe at any one moment?
Do you feel like we are a society that lacks mindfulness?
No, I don't. I think we need more attention to it. I think there are a lot of people that are, that cultivate mindfulness. But there's so many distractions in the world that I think we need more of it.
Mm-hmm. I just feel like we live in a world right now where society benefits from us being down each other's throats, us being preoccupied with silly topics, distractions. And I wonder who out there is really fighting to say, maybe this is all just clutter.
Maybe not fighting to say it. Maybe just offering it.
Well, you just don't see it. You don't see a lot of it on the news. I wonder why important concepts like mindfulness and meditation are not more in the forefront.
Well, there's different agendas going on all different kind of channels, and there's different viewpoints going on all the channels. So I think it's up to us to find, and by channel I mean anything. It could be a talk, it could be what we're doing now as a channel. You know, it's like finding where you're given what you want, and then moving more towards that.
Yeah.
Because some of the biggest things that are in our face are not always the best things for us. So I think this idea of questing, this idea of like, what do I really want? What do I really want to do? What do I really want to see on my social media feed? What do I really want to have come into my world in a day? Because we do get to plan our day. There are certain things we don't have control over, but we do have a lot of control. But sometimes we think we're less powerful than we are. So it's this idea of what do I want to have in my day to day? And even if there's only one thing for half an hour that you can actually choose because there's all these other things, make it something that feeds you.
Yeah.
And then make more of that.
So so you said power. What is power to you within the self?
It's the ability to manifest your life the way you want it to be.
Which is such a hard thing to do.
It can be. It can be. But once again, what I've been shown with the teachers that I've had is that it's accessible to all of us if we just take the time to pursue it and see what that means for us, see what that avenue is. And, I've been a quester all my life. Oh, this interests me. I'm going here. This interests me. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. I'm doing this, with this idea of highest and best for all and looking for the beauty in life, because there's so much beauty in life, but we forget. Like I'm looking at the window right now at these beautiful trees, a spring day, the blue sky, clouds. It's beautiful. But I could sit here all day and not even see it if I didn't look out the window.
Now that's observational meditation.
Yeah.
Which is a beautiful kind. But back to what I was asking you about. So you said the ability to manifest the life that you want to have. Let's just say someone's in that position where they're trying and trying and trying, but things aren't working out. So how do you advise them to stay the course when frustration is setting in? Because a lot of people don't have the ability to manifest the life they want.
Right. But also, what kind of life do you want? I think, at the core, we all have the same things we want. We want peace, we want happiness, we want love, we want acceptance. And it's just finding that where you can find it. You might not be able to find it in a big, loud way in the world. But if you have one person that respects you and loves you, when you need respect and love, you go to that person and they give you that. And so you just start making it small. Sometimes I think we focus on all these big things.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that can be hard. But we manifest our day every day. Some people say to me, I can't manifest anything. I said, you manifested coming to my office today. I think you're a good manifester. You dressed yourself. You got up. You probably ate something. You got in your car. You said, I'm going to come and see Tania. And then you showed up. That's manifesting your life. It's just that when we get to the other things, we think, oh, that's too big. That's too hard. Because we maybe need to bring the focus back down, because I say I want to have peace and I want to be happy. If I have peace and I have happiness, I've got everything else. I don't need to focus on all the different things. I've got a job that sustains me. I've got people that care about me. I think this idea of manifesting has become this big thing of, I want to manifest $100,000 a year and I want to manifest this and that's all great. Yeah, go for that. I'm not saying don't go for that. But what about having the job that sustains you, that you love, right? Maybe sometimes it's changing it. It's bringing it down to, what do you really want? Is it that 100,000 a year, or is it the ability to sustain yourself in a way that, that in the lifestyle that you want, where you have all these things, you go to a job that you love, you have people around you that care about you, you have fun. I think sometimes when we really break it down to what people want to manifest, it's a whole lot different than the first thing.
Do you think that manifestations and money belong in the same sentence?
Yeah, why not? Why not? But to me, it's not the end result. Money is a tool. We need it. We've got to have it. There's lots of ways to get it.
I wonder if that's one of the things that sets your sights a little bit beyond what you can control.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I've always been a person who goes slowly and gently, gently. Walk the path because nothing happens overnight, right? I grew up with the idea of work hard, be kind, help others, and know when you're off track, and if you don't know, keep monitoring yourself, and good things will basically happen. You might not be might not be on the top of the hill, but maybe you're on a rock 2/3 up and it looks really nice.
Yeah. I just worry that for me, the things that I believe of manifestation, none of them have economic value.
What do you mean by that?
There's no economic value of love. It's a pure form.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's why money has never been a focus for me.
Yeah. But
but we need it. We have to have it.
Right. I mean, it's the unfortunate part of our society, but I just don't see you want to manifest friendship. You want to manifest love. You want to manifest happiness. I don't even know what that word is sometimes, but, because I think it's an overrated word sometimes. But my point is there's no economic value on it.
Right.
It's very much something within you.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Money is just energy.
Oh gosh, don't say that.
It is.
It's a negative energy.
Oh, but it can be positive. It comes in and it goes out, and it comes in and it goes out.
That's true.
We're always needing and wanting more. It's part of that needing and wanting. More money, more money. We have to have money. That's a very important thing.
Well, let me ask you. So, as a guru, as a person who guides people, does it bother you when people's wants and needs are too high or misplaced? Or how do you?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't bother me. People, as I said to you, follow your bliss, manifest dreams. I don't care what your dream is. My job is to help you listen to yourself enough to know what the next step is. That's what I do. So somebody comes in with a dream, we break it down. So somebody came to me once and said, well, I'm a singer and I want to make a record, but I can't because I don't have any money. Okay. And I said, do you realize those two things have nothing to do with each other? I said, what do you mean? I said, well, you think you can't do this because you don't have that. I said, well, first of all, if you're going to make a record, you need to be singing all the time, right? Because your voice needs, are you singing every day? Is your voice, really ready to go in the studio? No. Okay, start singing every day. Now, all right, so if you're going to make a record, you need to have songs. Have you got a song you want to record? No. Are you going to write a song? Are you going to record a song? You find a song? Oh, no, well, I don't know. So then we broke it all down. And by the end of it, we'd figured out, she could play it on her guitar, she could sing it, she could record it, put it on her TikTok, and it's like she's on the path then to making the record. It's like, you're not ready to make the record right now, but you've looked at the end result and then what you didn't have, and you put them together and you said, I can't do this. You're going to go home and you're going to record something tonight and you're going to put it out. You started,
yes.
Right? You're on the journey. And as you keep putting more energy towards it, so through looking at the songs, what songs do I want to find the songs? Do I want to write the songs? Who would I write the songs with? Oh, I need to call so-and-so. Through that, then you start to manifest, because then you've got to reach out to this person, you've got to call that person. Then all these other things can start happening because you're on the pathway then. And when you're walking on the pathway, other things can come in and you can connect with other people who have dreams that they want to do. Someone's looking for someone to sing their song right now. So that's how this idea of this energy, moving this energy forward, happens on the way to making a record.
So manifestation is not necessarily the power of thought. It's the power of movement and action.
Exactly. And listening, and it's one step at a time. I always ask myself, what's the next step? What's the next step? Because it's all just a series of steps. But we see that big shiny thing and go, oh, I can't do it. It's too hard. I don't have this, I don't have that, I don't have. Because the world teaches us, if you're going to record a record, then you need to do it like one of the biggest artists in the world and you've got to have a record. And those things, yeah, of course, that's part of it if you're going that way. But there's lots of ways to record a record these days.
Mm-hmm.
So what kind of record do you want to make? And it turned out she didn't want to have a big label and the big opportunity. She just wanted to record a record and put it out and, just see what happened. So it depends on where people's dreams are, where they live. But she'd seen this and seen it, the biggest example of it, and it was unattainable for her. So therefore she'd written it off.
That's like social media. So many things on social media are right there in front of you and they're unobtainable. But they create the seed in your mind that that's who I want to be. That's how I want to look. That's who I want to be. Have my picture taken with, and then you're chasing a dragon.
Sometimes, yeah. But I think too, we've got too many choices sometimes. Sometimes we need to just get quiet and go, what do I really want? Because what you're attracted to and what your interpretation and what your ability to manifest it is can look totally different, but yet still satisfy you.
Yeah.
Because the soul doesn't have to be satisfied by the biggest and best. It just has to be satisfied by expressing itself.
Well, I'm watching this show, Adolescence, right now. And it's really interesting, the take that they've made on it about the impact of social media on kids. And it's like this very scary thing for what your online image is, how people perceive you. They're even getting into 13-year-olds, calling these 13-year-olds incels. Like, they're already worried about sexual activity at that age. It's like gross.
Yeah, there's a lot of darkness.
Have you watched the show yet?
No, I haven't seen it, but I'm going to watch it.
Adolescence is apparently it's just taken off, and I was told to watch it this weekend. So I watched some of the episodes, and I was just like, man, these kids, like, it's all about Instagram. It's all about who's on Instagram, who's interacting, who's taking pictures with who's sexually active, et cetera, et cetera. And it's kind of like this dark side of thinking, I'm so glad I'm not a kid right now.
Yeah, kids have different things to deal with than we did when we grew up.
Did you grow up, like, born and raised in Australia?
Yeah, Tasmania. I call myself the Antarctic mermaid because we're like Hobart, where I'm from, is literally the last landmass before you go to Antarctica.
And what age were you when you finally got a cell phone or the computer and started getting on the internet?
Oh yeah, I was an adult.
Is that not amazing?
Yeah, I remember when there was no internet.
Well, that's why
if you left home and you didn't have a cell phone and your mother didn't know where you were, then you just had to get yourself where you needed to be, or find someone that can help you get there.
That's how we were. We were out all day
There's
playing.
no calling mom. Yeah.
What? So you mentioned Australia. We talked about Australia. Are you going to Egypt soon?
Yes.
So before I ask you about your Egypt trip, because maybe you want to promote it, but when you were being raised in Australia in the education system, was there ever any discussion of ancient Egyptians visiting Australia?
Not when I was going to school, no.
But now
No.
you have heard of it?
I've heard something about there's some hieroglyphics out in a very remote area, but I don't know if that's really true, or whether they really are, or whether the Egyptians did it, or whether somebody else wrote them. I have no idea.
Yeah, it's in a water park. Is
really?
where
Do you know
some
where?
kind of water park, I can't remember the name. I could look it up if I need to, but I think they've debunked it now.
Okay.
I can't remember the name of the glyphs, but it was fascinating to me because I don't know. Nowadays we debunk stuff and it doesn't mean it's actually debunked, but there was at least some stuff I've read about and seen on different documentaries about ancient Egyptians making contact with the Aborigines.
Wow, that's interesting. I haven't heard about that.
Yeah, and I would just be so fascinated to know if there's any true history coming out of Australia about, like, how in the hell did they know how to get to Australia, and how did they know Aborigines were there, unless it was an advanced society that we've kind of underestimated all this time.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of mysteries on planet Earth, that's for sure.
I'm going to look this up.
Yeah, look it up.
Because I want to see, what is it? I want to see what the Gosford glyphs.
Gosford glyphs. I think I have heard about them, but I never heard about whether they thought that they were, an Egyptologist had examined them and seen whether they're actually correct. Have they had? Is there anything about that?
Now it's in, just so you know, it's Brisbane Water National Park.
Oh, Brisbane. Okay,
Sorry, Brisbane.
Brisbane Water Park.
And you can go see them, but they now think that so around the 20s, they say that people were returning from World War I or something, and Egyptology had become a huge subject. And so they think that soldiers had seen the glyphs in another country and came back and mimicked them by making them.
That's probably closer to the truth, but as I say, I have no knowledge.
But gosh, Tania, I want it to be true so bad.
Why do you want it to be true?
Because I'd love to know that back in the day when we think that these people were very primitive, other than the ability.
I don't think the Egyptians were primitive. I mean, they built you look at what they did. We can't do that now.
Yeah, we cannot build the pyramids. And now they found these structures under the pyramids. But my point is, for what we've always tried to kind of psychologically think about the ancient Egyptians, the idea that not just on top of the ability to build these massive pyramids, that they actually had the ability to travel to places like Australia would just be fascinating to me. Like, how did they know the Aborigines were there? How did they know they wanted to contact them and learn from them?
Yeah, there's a lot we don't know. Definitely.
But that's ancient culture's understanding of Earth and how to harness the power of the universe is really kind of the main topic that fascinates me about ancient cultures.
Yes.
I mean, you hear people talk about this all the time, but we're not connected to the Earth the way old civilizations were. Like, we don't even understand what the sky looks like because of light pollution.
Right, and we don't observe it in the same way as the ancients did. We just don't pay attention to it. The way, and live in harmony with it the way that the ancient cultures did.
But someone like you is very well educated on astrology, correct?
Or not astrology, a little bit. But I have a very good friend, in fact, Mary Lamando, who I'm going to Egypt with. I'm taking the group with. She's one of my dear friends, and she's an Egyptologist and an astrologer. And she has worked and lived in Egypt for many, many years. And she's the one to talk to, because there's not anything about Egypt that she hasn't heard about or know about and give you an opinion on. So.
Oh, wow. So now we can talk about the trip. When are you guys going? And you are taking people, correct?
Yes, this is the first. I met Mary years ago. I met her and I asked her what she did. And she said, I take people to Egypt. And I said, I'm so glad to meet you, because I came into this planet and that was the only place I wanted to go. And I've been to all these other places and I haven't got to Egypt yet. So she said, well, let's go. And so I had clients that wanted to go. So I put together a group with her and we went. And it was just such an incredible experience that I've done four groups of clients now with Mary.
Oh, wow.
And we're getting ready to do our 5th journey. And out of everywhere I've been, I like to see so many different places, so I tend to not go back to the same place unless there's a specific reason. But Egypt, it just never fails to just amaze me, and the energy there is so incredible. And when you're standing in those temples and the Great Pyramid, and it's awesome. It really is. And once again, we go back to energy. Stone holds frequency. So when you go in there, they're sacred geometry. So you're going to have your own experience in there. I've had people that, are just on the archaeological place. They have no interest in the energy and the metaphysical aspect or anything. And they'll go into a temple and have an incredible experience beyond anything that they've ever experienced. And it's beautiful because it really opens you up. In whatever way you connect with Egypt. It's all about your connection. Like people say, oh, do you do meditations and do you do this? And we do have another tour at the end for people who are more metaphysically inclined. But this tour is for everybody. You can come on this tour and you can be completely metaphysical and spiritual, or you can be completely archaeological and history. And there's something for everybody. And it just evolves organically, naturally. It's not like we're doing meditations at every temple. It's not like that. It's a very group experience, but a very solo experience also, because Egypt's going to speak to you. Through your connection to it.
And when is the trip?
It's November 2nd through the 15th.
I had Mike Shimshak on the podcast, and he was telling me that they used to have water chambers in the pyramids. I think he said it was in the pyramids, and they would raise the water and lower the water to use it for frequency energy. That a person might be in there that needed healing, and they would use it for frequency energy healing.
In the pyramid?
I think he said in the pyramid. I'm pretty sure.
I haven't heard that. You'd have to ask Mary. Mary, I'll ask her. I'm talking to her after I get off with you. So
yeah, there's something about the use of water with the pyramids that's. I think it's inside.
How did they get the water in the pyramid?
I don't know.
I know there's other areas that have water. There's the Assyrian and Abydos has water, and there's some other temples that are near the Nile where there's water, and some of those temples were used for healing. But I've never heard about the Great Pyramid.
Interesting. I'm going to go back and watch the clip.
Yeah, I think I want to watch it too. I'm very interested in that.
Well, that's going to be fascinating. I've been to Egypt once, but I was only in Taba.
Where's Taba?
It's at the very north. It's on the Red Sea.
Oh, I hear it's beautiful there. I haven't been to the Red Sea.
Very beautiful. But this is what's not so funny, but looking back now, it's a little humorous. So I was visiting my family in Israel. My family lives in a Christian village in the north of Israel. So I was there for like a month on this trip. And we took a trip down. We went to Taba and gambled in the casino for like 3 days straight. Got back home 2 weeks later, and Al Qaeda blew up that Hilton.
Oh, no.
Missed it by 2 weeks.
Wow.
But yeah, Egypt is terrific.
It is.
But I want to see the pyramids really bad.
The pyramid's amazing. As soon as you see it, I've seen it. I've seen so many photographs of it, and nothing prepares you for when you stand in front of it and you just go, how? Like it boggles your mind. It really does.
What do you think the pyramids are? How do you think they were built?
I think the ancient Egyptians had help. I don't know who by. My grandfather, actually, one of the first times I heard the word pyramid was from my grandfather, because he had a pyramid in his workshop.
Oh, wow.
A little wire one that he'd built. And he used to talk about the power of the pyramids and how they could harness energy and this sort of thing. And so I said to him, well, why do you have one in your workshop? He goes, because when I can't figure something out, I go and sit underneath it and then I figure it out.
Whoa.
I was like, wow. Oh, that's very cool. And then he told me about these things where if you put fruit in a pyramid, it lasts longer, and things like this. Different experiments people had done, and he was a great believer in the energy of the pyramids.
Wow. I mean, there are some reports that I've heard that people believe it was a nuclear power plant.
I've heard that too.
Or some kind of power plant.
You can't deny when you stand in it that there is an energy, especially if you stand in the middle of it, right in the middle of it, under the point. Yeah, there's a lot happening there.
Yeah. Well, I hope you have a wonderful, safe trip and just get home safe. But I'm gonna have to go on one of those trips eventually.
Yes, we would love to have you with us. Maybe you could do your podcast from Egypt.
You also have to be careful over there. There's now people that are running up the pyramids for social media clicks. Have you seen these people?
I have not. I have not seen that.
Yeah,
but I know that if they're doing it, then they won't do it very long, and they'll be stopped.
Oh well, one guy got to the top, but then he got arrested.
Right. Yeah, they're pretty They're pretty particular about, who does what in those places.
Yeah.
And Egypt is very safe. I want to say that Mary's been taking people to Egypt for, over 20 years. And it's always safe. It's always safe to go to Egypt.
Now, what is it about the pyramids that I hear how they are aligned with the stars?
Yes, they are. They are aligned with the stars. I think it's, once again, I don't want to say because I don't want to say the wrong star, but I know they are. And Mary, and once again, Mary, you might want to have Mary on here because she can answer all this information. In fact, come on our call. We're having an Egypt call on Thursday
Okay.
night. Where we're going to be talking about the trip, and this is a time where people who are interested can come and just ask us questions about the trip. Ask Mary about different different theories about things with Egypt because she knows them all. She'll give you the Egyptology straight view, and then all the other things, she'll tell you through her filter what she thinks is and isn't, and a court but can back it up with the receipts of, well, this is what they say and this is how this is and that's why. But maybe we don't know. Of course, there's always that. We can't know everything about Egypt. It's too incredible. I think we'll still be coming up with theories about Egypt.
Well, that's another thing is that most of these things that we talk about in ancient culture it's just all hypothesis.
Yeah, and see, for me, this is why I can't answer in those questions because that information is not my connection. My connection is I go in there and I'll get a melody in my head.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get words come. There's a song Jungle Flower, which is about the blue lotus, which is the sacred flower that's in all the hieroglyphs. And I came out of the temple of Isis and started writing, and it was all this information about the flower, and the flower is in our heart and it opens us up. And so that's my connection. My connection is to whatever those ancient rituals were happening in those temples, whatever the healing was that was being done in those temples. That's my connection to it. But everybody else is different. A lot of people come and they're very well studied on different things, and they know the Egyptology side, or they know history, or they know something that they've seen on YouTube with someone who's got some new information. And that's what's great about Egypt, because there's room for everybody. Well,
what you just said is so amazing. So basically, the memories that exist in walls and stones and the energy that remains from ancient culture, it is a muse.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. As I said to you last time, I love crystals. I have them all around me right now, and I could always pick up energy in the stone. And so when I go into those places, they speak to me. Now, do they speak to somebody else in the same way? No. And because I'm an artist, it can turn into a piece of music. It can turn into a meditation. What's interesting is when you have an experience and then one of the guides will tell you about something, from the Egyptology world about what they know, and it combines with something that you've experienced. That's the magic for me, But that's my personal experience with it.
I learned something. I learned something fascinating about stones recently. So, have you heard about the telepathy tapes?
No.
It's this woman who is studying these kids that are. I think it's fair to describe them as like extremely autistic. Some of them are even mutes, but they're telepaths. They're mind readers.
Mm-hmm.
And through their studies, they've confirmed that they're mind readers. They can communicate telepathically. But one major aspect of them is you have to be very controlled around who you put them around because they feed off of energy. And do you know what one of their number one things that these kids collect are?
Crystals.
Crystals and stones.
Yeah, because they hold energy and they transmit energy.
Yeah. Isn't that
just like every living thing? It's just that it's a rock. Yeah, that's incredible about those kids. You're really blowing my mind with some of this stuff here. And also, that's sometimes what happens. When one sense is shut down, another one will fire stronger.
Well, this woman that's kind of involved in the study, I think she's trying to get a documentary made. She has I think it's a whole series that she's put up on Spotify. And I think it's called the Telepathy Tapes, and you have got to listen to it.
I will. I will.
But the idea,
it's like the kids that are coming in now with past life recall. That is spot on.
Really?
You heard about that?
Tell
yes,
me
I was
about
watching.
That.
Okay, because I'm a past life regressionist, right? Whether you believe in past lives or not, some people do, and they have experiences that help them understand their current life. They'll go back into a certain thing and then there'll be all these connections. And it's fascinating to watch somebody have that experience because it's all done in your own mind, right? So the first experience I had with it was there was a young boy was brought to a group. I was doing a group thing. I'm going to be doing another one end of May, actually. And I was a little concerned because he was only about 10 years old and I wasn't sure if he could sit in the meditation and whether he'd be interested or, you know, um, and I thought, well, he's here, he's with his parents, let's just do it. So we did it. And his parents came up later and said, oh, we drove down from Kentucky to do this with you because our son has talked about all these places that he used to be, and we've actually tracked it, and they're actual real places. And I said, that's amazing. And this child was incredible. And I asked him about his experience, and he had an incredible, past life experience. And so I started looking online, and I realized that so many of the children that are coming in now, they remember their past lives.
Wow.
And there was this one particular child, I can't remember who the doctor was, and he studied him, and he told him there was something like, I don't know, I want to say like 20 different facts of, I was here and I was doing this and I was wearing that and this is mine and that's mine and this was happening. And they went through one by one, they verified them all. And then there was one they couldn't verify for some reason. They thought, oh, well, that's off. And then there was something about the timeline shifted and they realized there was more information came in later and it was actually true too. And this doctor, I think it was a psychiatrist or a psychologist, said, "Yeah, we can't refute this."
Wow.
And even in the Tibetan teachings, they have rituals because they say when the children come in, they're sort of more connected to where they were than where they are now, and so they actually have rituals at a certain age. If the child is still more connected to the past life than this life and it's causing issues with their learning, there's spiritual rituals that they can do to help the child to be present in this lifetime.
Wow. And that's basically getting a kid when they're still a kid. There's no fear of
Right.
the scorn that you'll receive from society when you try to suggest such what some people might call a wild theory.
Right, because there's no way we can prove it.
Well, speaking of what you just said with proving it, I read a similar story recently about a kid who told his mother that he was murdered, gave her in a past life. He's like, I think he was like 12, 13 years old, gave all the details of it, eventually went and told a school teacher. Eventually it got to the authorities. He knew who killed him. They finally went back. He took them to the area where he was murdered.
Wow.
And they found remains of bones.
Wow.
And it was discovered that the person that he said killed him ended up becoming a killer that they eventually caught for killing other people.
Incredible.
And this little kid knew every detail in the same manner that you were just describing.
Yeah. So to me, that's proof.
I mean, but now, just so I know, because I don't know much about this. So define a past life regressionist.
Okay, so it falls under the auspices of hypnosis, if you like, in that we help you to go to a meditative state, right? That's what hypnosis is, basically, helping you to guide you to a certain meditative state. And in this process, then I have a little guided meditation, very short, that will take you into your past life. Now, you can go two different ways. You can say, I've got a connection with this person and I don't know why and I don't know how, but I want to know if I was with them in a past life. Or I've got a connection to France and I have no reason to why, but I know all these things and I cook all these things, and there's things that are happening in their current life. So we can go back with a very specific pointer towards a past life, like, okay, Taylor's said he wants to go back to whatever connection he has with France, right? And so then I'll just take you through into whatever the past life is, and I'll say, okay, now this is happening, that's happening, and now you're in your past life. Then it's not about me. It's all over to you then, because then I'll just ask you questions of, what are you experiencing? And you might go, well, I feel like I'm outside. I'll go, okay, what do you see? Well, I can see the sky. Look down at your feet. What are you wearing? Oh, I've got brown shoes on and I've got a dress on. Okay, are you man or woman? Oh, I'm a woman. So through me asking you questions, it helps you to understand what you're seeing. And then I'll move you through the life and say, okay, come forward 20 minutes now in the life. What's happening now? Come forward to the the pivotal point in this life, the most important thing for you in this lifetime. Come there now, 3, 2, 1, be there now. And then you're just coming forward to different places in that life and you're telling me what's happening.
Wow.
And then sometimes it could be some wisdom that you're retrieving. Sometimes it could be something that was difficult for you in that life that then we work to let the energy from that experience go so that it's not sort of so prevalent. Maybe it's firing in this current life in another way. And we do some healing around it to integrate those experiences. And then I'll guide you to a place which we call the place between lives. And that's where you can speak to God directly. You may have your own guides come, whoever your spiritual, whatever your spiritual path is, maybe ancestors on the other side. And I'll say, okay, now whoever's going to come is going to explain to you why this life was important, what you were there to learn, and you can ask them questions. So I'm going to be quiet now, and you just have that experience. And so then I'll be quiet for a few minutes. And then after, I'll ask them, okay, what was your experience? Who came? What did they tell you? And they'll have a message. And that can be very healing for somebody, in their current life to have that experience.
Whoa.
But it's all guided by your mind.
Wow. Now, does anybody from a skeptical mind say that when you put a person under hypnosis, by nature, you have some level of control over them? So is there any accusation of that you are controlling where you take them?
No, because you can only be controlled if you allow someone to control you. Right? First of all, you should never let anybody else control you. But I have people say to me, I've got friends who go, well, I can't be hypnotized. I'm like, you're exactly right. Because you're not giving permission for that experience. So that's true. Someone else, I have also had people that are skeptical and they'll say, well, I'm really interested in this, but I don't know if I can be hypnotized and I don't know if this will work and I don't even know if I can have a past life. And I said, well, none of that matters. The fact that you're here means that you're interested and you're open to it, and that's all you have to be. And we just take this journey together and we see what it is, because I'm not feeding them any information. I'm just asking them questions. So, and then, you can have skeptics that say, well, that's not real. That's just a figment of your imagination. It's like, well, yes, maybe. But the question is, does it help your current life? Is there something that you got of value that helps? So if that's true, and then someone says, oh, now I know why I met this person and I didn't know why, but I just felt bad about them and I didn't really jive with them and I didn't have any reason why. And now I've gone back and I've seen what our past life was and what I was supposed to learn from that person. And that's really kind of amazing. And it's sort of shifted a little bit about how I feel. I mean, all kinds of things can happen. So if it helps you in your current life, does it matter?
I get it. Do you think
it's an experience?
Sorry.
It's an experience in your own mind that was beneficial. So I say that's a good thing.
Do you think that we carry positive or negative energy from past lives?
I think we can carry positive and negative karma, yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So who you are now matters who you'll be in the future.
That's why the Tibetans say this is a precious life and don't waste it, because death will come sooner than later, and we need to be working towards having a better life next time.
Now that's a good point. So that's even more of a good incentive to live a good life, not just for this life, but for your future lives.
Right.
Should there be any?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's pretty fascinating.
And some people don't believe that, and that's okay too. I think that's the beauty of this world. There's room for everything. And that's what I think we really need to really understand that.
Monks are amazing. I saw a video of a monk who was hiking up a steep rock mountain barefoot, just walking up it, and there was tourists 30 feet away, and they have helmets and the ropes to help them go up the mountain, and he just comes walking up. Have you seen this video?
No, I haven't seen that video.
Fascinating. It's
But I have,
fascinating.
but I have day walked up to 16,000 feet in Tibet, thinking I was going to die with every step because the air's so thin. You just think you just became the most world's unfittest person, just like that. And then see my Sherpa who's got my day. It's just a day backpack. It's not a big backpack. It's just a little backpack. And they say, "Oh, we'll carry this for you." And he's run up there and he's smoking a cigarette, sitting on a rock, going, "What is wrong with these people?"
Well, the Sherpas have alien genetics.
It's amazing. It's incredible.
They
Well,
really are.
they're used to that altitude. We're not.
I listen. It was an Ancient Aliens episode, so don't laugh at me. But there was something on there about they tested something from outer space, and there was some correlation between Sherpas and extraterrestrial life. Take it however you will, but it makes sense to me because they are subhuman.
Yeah, I mean, where did we all come from? We didn't come from the ground. We all came from somewhere else.
Let me ask you: is it fair to describe you as a mystic?
Yeah. Don't call
Okay.
me a guru. Call me a mystic.
There's too many fake gurus, so I'll just call you a mystic because I know you and trust you and enjoy your work. I don't enjoy the work of fake gurus, so I will just say mystic.
Thank you.
But I
Thank
do
you.
have to ask you something. Are you an
Mm-hmm.
Elvis fan?
Oh yeah, who doesn't love Elvis?
Thank you.
My mum married my dad because she said he looked like Elvis.
Now that's a compliment.
Yep.
If some
Yep.
woman told me I look like Elvis, I would just say thank you. Have you seen the new book coming out on Elvis?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so it's called, I'm gonna look it up. I think it's called Occult Elvis,
Okay.
and it runs through all kinds of stuff. And believe it or not, you and Elvis have similar traits based on what they've laid out.
Okay.
All right, so this author is setting up this whole idea that, let me look at this from the top.
I'm fascinated now.
Okay, so the new book explores the secret occult history of Elvis Presley. And these are just some of the things. So I'll just go ahead and give you one that I know off the top of my head. Elvis had a friend who was injured in a motorcycle accident and he was in pain in the hospital. Elvis went in after a few days of him being in bad pain, waved his hands over him, and the guy's pain subsided like significantly.
Oh wow.
So they
That's
lay out
great.
stuff here, like starting from the beginning, under unusual circumstances of his birth, including his stillborn twin brother, Jesse. Connor traces the diverse thread of mysticism that run through Elvis Presley's life, drawing on firsthand accounts from people like Priscilla and the Memphis Mafia. Now this is where it starts to get a little strange, because I've always heard that Elvis was just a good Christian guy. But apparently he was very interested in different philosophies and different spiritualities.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. What is farm? He was one of his spiritual guides was Farmansa Yogananda, an Indian
Yogananda.
yogi.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And it says that Elvis was well versed in esoteric practices, including sex magic, meditation, astrology, and numerology, and had a deep familiarity with Kabbalah, Gnosticism.
Very interesting.
Had significant UFO experiences.
Mm-hmm.
One of the stories is that he used to astrally project himself into the stars, and he would see himself in a white jumpsuit as a kid, which he eventually ended up wearing in many of his concerts.
Right. He was doing self-hypnosis.
Yes, and he has conspiratorial and paranormal aspects of Elvis's life. The author explains Elvis's visitations that have occurred since Presley's ostensible death and the general high weirdness of Elvis's life. And he says, I'm not sure, I agree with this. Elvis was not just one of a kind rock and roller. He was one of the greatest magicians America ever produced and a key player in transforming Western culture forever. Okay, so now I'll turn it over to you. Do you think Elvis was a mystic?
It's possible. Yeah, why not? A lot of musicians, singers are mystics. They're interested in those things. I think it's possible. Yeah.
I love that he practiced meditation.
Yeah. Yeah. And well, and that idea when you said he, as a little boy, he saw himself, he projected himself in the sky and saw that white jumpsuit. That's manifestation. It's like seeing, I'm seeing myself in the future as what I want to be, and seeing that and feeling how I'm going to feel when I have that or when I do that. So yeah, he was a master at it, because look what he became from that little boy with that. That's the key piece for me, is what you just said about that, him seeing himself as a little boy in that white jumpsuit.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating. And he had told his girlfriend about that. He had, when he was a kid,
Mm-hmm.
he was like, I'm going to be, I don't know what he said. It's something about, he would tell her about seeing himself in the stars. But the thing that's interesting to me is there's a lot of great artists. There's a lot of great music out there. Music always touches you in a different way, at least from my
Mm-hmm.
experience.
Yeah.
But there has to be something, and I've had Tony Brown on the podcast, and Tony just describes him as a
Love
sweet
Tony.
Southern guy, just a
Right.
good Christian
Right.
kid, but he was obviously very spiritual. He was obviously a seeker.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder, for someone like Elvis to go to the lengths that he went, what does he tap into that other people don't? Does he exist on a different frequency that most others don't?
Well, anytime you have that kind of level of fame, regardless of whether they're spiritual or not, people live on a different frequency, because they have so much other humans projecting energy at them to lift them up, to be, that to so that they're famous. That's what fame is, So you have to be able to deal with that level of energy. Um, so yeah,
This book's going to be interesting. I think I'm going to have to read it.
yeah, it's very interesting, and also the key too is the fact that he was into the work of Yogananda. I've read Autobiography of a Yogi, and it's very interesting work. So yes, he was a meditator. He was going deeply into the all that is.
But I also wonder that if fame is so confusing and so isolating that you kind of have to withdraw within yourself and just search for a deeper meaning, because you kind of realize that fame can't be the meaning of life.
Yeah, you have to be very grounded to be able to deal with that much attention. So if you're very grounded and you have like a meditative practice, a spiritual practice, some kind of something that keeps you grounded, you're going to deal with that level of fame better than somebody who's, maybe has had a lot of trauma that's unresolved, wants fame for the wrong reasons, is attracted to things that aren't necessarily good for them. Um, yeah, it can be very, very difficult. Fame
I
can be
mean,
very difficult.
it can obviously lead to addiction.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I've had many people
Absolutely.
tell me that, strangely enough, one of the reasons that artists become addicts is that you'll never understand the feeling of standing in before an arena or a theater or a stadium and having 100,000 people or 10,000 people singing along with you to every word, cheering your name, and then walking off the stage and it's silent.
Yeah.
And that you need something to feel that rush.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why it's sex, drugs, and rock and roll, because they're ways to ground that massive energy that you just had. Meditation is good too. But yeah, food, all those things, they're ways to ground that energy, because it's a peak experience. So, you can have peak experiences in meditation too. They're better for you, than doing them with drugs and things like that. But the idea is, it's not about the peak experience. You keep going, because you can't maintain that. Not unless you're enlightened, unless you go all the way. So you're just on the journey. And sometimes it's like life. Sometimes you have a peak experience, and sometimes you have a valley experience. But it's learning to mitigate the energy, so it's learning to harness that good energy from the crowd. I know what that feels like, from the artists that I've worked with,
Oh,
I've been
yeah.
lucky enough to play with, and stand on that stage. It's there's nothing like it. It's incredible, because it's humans coming together for a common
Yes.
goal. It's beautiful, it's transcendent. When people leave those concerts, when I've been to a concert that an artist that I love, you're in a different place.
Yes,
It
you
is a
are.
meditation. Music is a meditation. It takes you somewhere, but then what do you do with it then? That's the next step. What are you doing with that energy? How do you
Blessed is
use
the
it?
peacemaker. And I've always thought of, like, in a weird way, artists are like peacemakers.
Yeah. Yeah, music is one of the biggest healing tools that we have. And it's interesting because I remember somebody saying that music is the one art form that speaks to the soul the fastest, and I think that's
Yes,
so true.
it is. And what I was referencing, though, is, as much as you can tap into the beautiful sound of a song and enjoy it, live music is such a different experience because it's just a different energy when you are surrounded by 60,000 people.
Yeah.
Your favorite artist is singing one of your favorite songs. Everyone's in
Hmm.
a different space. Everyone's in a good space, a celebratory space, a happy space.
Yeah. Yeah.
All the political views, all the racial differences, all the gender differences, all that shit is gone. And y'all are all
Yeah.
enjoying the same thing.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's why musicians love to play music because that's the experience we have. Even if we're just playing the music for ourselves, or with a band, we have that experience. We have that feeling. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
You worked with Kylie Minogue,
Yeah,
isn't that right?
yeah. I work with Kylie. I was a
Did y'all
keyboard
ever
player for a
perform
couple of
that
years.
song live? I just can't get you out of my head.
No, I worked with her before that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I worked with her right before that. Yeah,
I
yeah.
love
It's a
that
great
song.
song though. Yeah,
Kylie's a
yeah. We
true
love
talent.
Kylie. Kylie's awesome. Kylie, she's amazing. She's had an incredible career.
So let's see what else. Well, anyway, I had to ask you about the Elvis thing, but we mentioned something while we were talking about Elvis. How happy are you that Tony Brown is now in the Country Music Hall of Fame?
Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Yeah, that's a long time coming. Congratulations, Tony.
I should mention that
That's really
Tony
awesome.
sports some of Tanya's jewelry.
He does. He does. He still wears it. I saw him. I saw him about a year ago on New Year's Eve, and he had it on. I said, "You're still wearing it?" He goes, "Oh yeah, I'm still wearing it."
I mean, I am so happy for that man. He's one of two names I
Yes.
have on a list that I really wanted to see in the Country Music Hall of Fame, and now he's in there. I mean,
Yeah.
his impact is so undeniable, from
It's
Elvis,
amazing.
George Strait,
Yeah.
Reba, everyone that's in the Hall of Fame already. Most
Right.
of them, Tony's touched their life in some way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm so happy for Tony.
Yeah. So what else is going on now? What else we have going on with you, Tanya?
What else? Well, got teaching some retreats. I'm having a new healing ceremony 4 times a year now. In fact, the first one is April 28th. It's going to be a Monday night at Cosmic Connections. When I do my retreats, we turn their classroom into a Tibetan temple for the 3-day retreats. And so we're inviting people that want to come and experience the energy, the healing energy after. We're having a healing ceremony. There's drumming, chanting of mantras. You don't have to come in with a belief. You can just come in for some healing energy, for some positive energy. So that's something that we're starting. And just more of the same. Still trying to get that album finished that I talked to you last time about with Eric Seitz for our
Oh,
Radiant
really?
Galaxy project. Yeah, I'm working on another song now that I'm hoping to get to him very soon. We're about 2 songs away from completing an album, I think, and I'm very excited about that music. So that's another thing that I'm working on too.
Well, I'll put the Cosmic Connection stuff in the description. Just trying to think. Oh, I know another issue I wanted to ask you about. Control. Are you into Stoicism?
What is Stoicism?
Just one of the central tenets of Stoicism is, you can only control your reaction. It's
Oh, yeah,
Marcus Aurelius
yeah.
and Stoicism.
Yeah, yeah, I believe that is our job, to control our own reactions to things.
But we live in a world where we don't have lots of control. So how do you, so no one that you deal with comes in asking about, my lack of control, my lack of self-esteem, or I shouldn't say self-esteem, self-control.
Hmm.
So,
That's something I help people with. But once again, it's about learning first. Somebody who has a problem with lack of control probably has had a lot of trauma in their life. So I think the first thing is helping their nervous system to calm down. Because sometimes when you feel like you don't have a lot of control, you can have hypervigilance.
okay.
So I would probably suggest, depending on who the person is, it's different for everyone, to come and have some healing sessions, because they're just about lay down, feel better. You don't have to do a thing, right? Lay on a massage table. I would give you some energy healing, and that will calm your nervous system down. Then you have your own experience in your mind. So you might have aha moments. There might be something you realize, something you've forgotten about, an answer to a question you've had for a long time. Once that starts happening, then you can sort of start helping the person understand they need to change the way they're thinking. But when you're in fight or flight, when you're in that place where you feel like I don't have any control, everything's against me, I've got a lot of fear, that has to calm down first. So it's sort of like helping somebody. Energy healing is like helping somebody to meditate that can't meditate. And from there, then we can start working in a more sort of cognitive way to find the things of why that's happened and how that's happened, and releasing those energetic charges, I call them, from whatever's happened that's caused the person to be acting that way in the future. Once again, we've got to learn to be still. We've got to really look at what's inside us, and it's hard. It's hard for all of us, because every day there's the world's going. It's just pulling at us in so many different ways, and it's also doing things that actually really do affect us. That are negative, that are not good. But having that strong connection helps you to navigate your own path through it, because there's always a way through it. There's always an answer, even when we think there's no answer. There's no way. There's nothing good can happen. There's infinite answers.
What creates imbalance in your life?
What creates imbalance in my life? Working too hard.
Which is a good thing.
Because it's not work to me. It's all the things that I love to do. But anything, okay. What created imbalance in my life just recently was all these tornadoes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because luckily we were very safe where we are, but it was right over the hill. It was coming for us. It was like head on. So it's like watching the TV, calling your friends, making sure they're safe. Do we need to duck and cover? What are we doing? Oh, it's gone past us. Okay, good. All right. Okay. Then we've got a respite for half an hour. Then there's another one coming. And this has sort of been going on and on and on for, a few days now. And I could feel my lack of, normally I do my spiritual practice. I'm good. I go and I, know what to do. And it was a bit like, all I want to do is eat. It's like, because I just want to ground myself because of all the wind, right?
Yeah.
So, looking at it in that elemental energetic way. But I could feel, just how discombobulated I was. And that's I didn't have anything physically happen. My heart goes out to people who had, their cars were damaged, their houses were damaged, people were hurt. You can't mess with the tornado. But once again, it's like, listening, where do I need to be safe, and listening to that. And sometimes you can't. Sometimes things just happen and you have to deal with them.
I slept right through it and woke up to 20 missed calls. The first night, slept right through it. Slept right through the sirens, everything. I woke up for like a little bit and then went right back to bed and saw, I was like, the next morning had a bunch of missed calls.
Wow. Yeah, those fronts they were something else. I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah, for people that don't know, Tania and I are both in Nashville. I'm south of Nashville, but basically 4 days straight of tornado watches and warnings and numerous touchdowns, and terrible.
Yeah.
Sirens at 3 a.m. But I wanted to ask that because, some people come to you for advice. People come to you for knowledge and wisdom. And I wonder, what goes on inside the head and the life of someone who people are constantly looking to for help, because it kind of humanizes you.
Of course it does, but one of the things when I became a Lopon with the Tibetan teachings that I teach now.
What is a Lopon for people?
Okay, a Lopon is a teacher of Tibetan soul healing. of ancient soul healing, which basically is learning how to balance the internal elements in your body, mind, soul. So everything we see is made of 5 elements, and we are made of those 5 elements. Our air, our wind is our breath, our earth is our flesh, our water is our blood, etc. So that's what in the ancient times, that's how they determined what we would call stress. They would say, oh, you have a 5 element imbalance, right?
Oh,
Something
wow.
in your energy field in your body is out of balance. And so their idea is keeping the spiritual life force and soul energy strong, because then the body knows how to take care of itself. Then the divine intelligence and the connection with everything knows how to work, because we don't think about all the things that our body does every day. But when that soul and life force gets damaged, when it gets weakened through stress, trauma, disease, things start going awry, right? So this is where the idea of healing can be so helpful. So you have to go through a very stringent process to become an energy healer is 3 years, and a teacher of it is 5 years. And when you become a teacher of it, one of the things you do is you take vows with your teacher in order to do certain energetic practice every day in order to be able to keep your energy balanced and strong so that you can help people in the way that you've been taught to do that. And one of my teachers said, you say you want to help all sentient beings. If you're sick in the bed for 3 days, you can't help people. Now, that's pretty rough, because we're human beings. Of course, I'm going to get sick sometimes and be in the bed. But it's this idea of you need to keep your energy a certain way, and you need to work at that every day.
Yes.
Because there's always going to be the things that come. But we're not taught that. We're taught brush your teeth because, your teeth will, but we're not really taught do your spiritual practice every day. Make set yourself the way you want to be set, and make that connection strong. How do you want to have your day? What do you want to see in your day? What do you want to create in your day? Because then you're setting your energy into the day. That's a whole different day than when you just go, oh, this day is going to be terrible and I've stubbed my toe. And, we have those days, but that's where it's like, oh, something's out of balance. I need to balance myself before I put my energy into the world. Like, what kind of energy are we putting into the world? If it's going to be a terrible day, then maybe something else is going to happen that's not that good. But if you work to balance your energy every day, you'll move through a little easier sometimes. It doesn't mean the bad things come, but when the bad things come, you can go, oh, I don't like that so much, but okay, I've said that I'm going to be a helpful, positive force in this world, so this is my challenge now. How am I going to show up? It's all how we show up.
Yeah, the energy you put out.
Sometimes we say, I don't like that, and then we show up just like it.
That's me.
We all do it. We're human beings. We have emotions, and emotions get going, but we need to understand our emotions really well so they can become tools rather than sort of like what runs the show.
This is why I like speaking to you, because you're so honest. There's so many people in this space right now that are presenting themselves as gurus, and they have all the answers, all of them. And it's like, nobody has all the answers.
No, I think, until we're not here anymore, maybe then we get sort of maybe all the answers or a lot more of the answers. But I think until then, we're just sort of trying to figure it out,
Yeah.
trying to get more answers.
What about, okay, so this is such a phrase that I hear all the time. Sorry, we have people working on the AC, so I thought they might be coming in. Mind, body, and spirit. How does someone approach mind, body, and spirit in the correct way?
Well, okay. So spirit is your connection with the divine, whatever that is. So keep your spiritual connection strong, whatever that looks like for you. And then your mind, in the Tibetan teachings, the mind is the heart. So, but we know the mind is the brain in Western. So whichever one you believe, maybe both of them's good together, put them together. Keep your mind straight. Keep your mind focused in the way that you want it. You want it to be ultimately. So, have something you're striving for, something that you're looking towards, that you're aspiring for, and make sure that things are aligning up with that, and you spend time sort of working in that way. And then body, you've got to take care of your body. First thing is listen to your body. What is it telling you today? Oh, my joints are hurting a little bit. Well, maybe you need to move them, stretch them. Maybe you're not feeling good. Maybe you feel great. Maybe you need to think better about the food that you're putting in, so you take care of your body. And some of taking care of your body is learning to listen to it, which we don't. We kind of ignore it until things, the little things, until it gets bigger. That little pain, in the lower back. Oh yeah, I need to do something. Oh, I need to go to the chiropractor. Oh, and it keeps going. Then, oh, now I can't get out of the bed. What happened? Because we didn't listen. So I think, whatever focus it is that you have, some people are vegan, some people are vegetarian, some people like their meat, whatever it is fine. Just make sure you're getting the best version of that. And ask yourself, is it really sustaining my body? Is my thoughts and where I'm going really, is that helping my mind to be calm, or is it making me anxious? Is this spiritual work that I'm doing, or the spiritual path that I'm on, is it serving me? Is it making me happy? Is it helping me to have more compassion? Is it helping me to feel more connected? I think that's body, mind, spirit. And when those three are in alignment, that's going to give you the best chance to, once again, manifest your life in whatever is the best way for you.
Listen, the older I get, the more I realize how intertwined all three are.
Yes, totally.
I've been on such a health journey over the last 2 years, and I've just never realized how much it feeds into your body and to your mind and your spirit.
Yep, it does. It does. The three work together.
And I just think that we lack that understanding.
But once again, there's so much information out there for us now. All you have to do is go to Google, go to ChatGPT, type it in, ask the question, and there's so much information will come back. Then you put it through your filter and go, well, how does that feel? Yeah, I don't know about that. You don't know about that. Yeah, that's not for me. I'm definitely not doing that. Oh, this kind of looks interesting. When you have that hit, that's where you go. You put your focus and you go, I'm going to try that. Then see what it is. I think we don't quest enough. We're not curious enough. We're not, there's so much in this world. There's so much to do.
Yeah.
I don't understand when people say they're bored. I'm like, how could you possibly be bored?
Right.
Look at everything, like, okay, come on, wake up. Right. What do you want to do? What's in you? Oh, I don't have any dreams. Yes, you do. You've just forgotten them. We've all got the stuff. It's like life beats us down sometimes, to where someone can sometimes think, oh, I don't have any dreams. I don't have any hope. I can't do anything. It's like, no, not true. Don't buy that. Don't buy it. We're all human. We all came in with a specific, blueprint for our lives. We have to discover what it is.
Yeah. I don't think you have to have a dream, but everyone has a purpose.
Yeah, that's to me that's what a dream is to me. The dream is the purpose. It's finding the thing that you love.
Yes.
That you just want to do.
I love doing this, and I love talking to you. I'll tell you that.
Well, I love talking to you too, Taylor. I could talk to you for hours.
That's where my spirit is today. I had you on last time, and we haven't seen each other since then, which is a tragedy, because I'd love to come see you and Rafe anytime. But you just put so much knowledge into the world, and just your connection with people, whoever you're talking to, whoever your audience is on social media. I'm one of them. And, this is going to be very simple, but just the way you start, hello, beauties. You put kindness in the world, and you put something out there for people that just, the first two words is hello, beauties. There's not enough complimentary people in this world who are kind and speak to people in a kind manner. And that's one of the things I love about you.
Oh, thank you, Taylor. Thank you. I appreciate that. I think that we all have beauty in us. Beauty is one of my guiding stars. It's like, no matter what's happening in the world that's difficult, don't forget the beauty, because even on your worst day, there's beauty. And we all have it in us, that's sort of like my namaste. It's like, I see the beauty in you, and you have, just this podcast that you do, I haven't seen all of the podcasts, but I watch all the shorts, and, and I dig around sometimes, and you create such a welcoming, open space for people just to be themselves. And I think that's really important, because when people come on podcasts, they think they have to be a certain way. And this, people can get a little nervous and this sort of thing, but you always just make everything so welcoming, and you honor the person as they are and who they are, totally. And I think that's a really magical thing about you
Well, I
and
appreciate
what
it.
you do.
Yeah, it's been an interesting 3 weeks. We had an AI investor. We had a guy from the CIA that hunted bin Laden. And now we have one of my favorite
Wow.
mystics, Tania Smith.
Thank you.
And the good thing for me is I'm not smart, so I don't get to act smart. So I just get to be dumb and ask questions.
Oh no, you floored me with some of this stuff today.
No,
I'm going to go and have to do my homework now and check this out.
no, it's just a beautiful thing in podcasting that you get to connect with interesting people. And that's my whole intention. And maybe eventually I'll get good at it and it can grow.
Well, thank you for having this platform for us to chat about these things, because I love helping people to understand that, don't buy into this thing that everything's terrible. It's like, yeah, there's terrible. We know there's terrible, but there's beauty too. And you know what? Enough people think of the beauty and focus on the beauty, we can tip the scale.
I do appreciate you saying that. I think there's so many very powerful organizations out there right now that profit off of division. And I buy into it. I turn on the news and I've always wondered, do you watch the news?
Yes and no. I'm very careful about what I watch. I have a curated social media feed, but it's not as curated as I like. But there are certain things that I follow to stay informed. I turn CNN on, every now and again and flick around to the different news channels. I'll start there and then flick around a little bit, and I'll just get a little bit of a taste. And as soon as I start feeling my blood pressure go up, I'm like, okay, that's enough for today. I'm informed, and now I go and do me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's good advice. Short stay on the news and then go do you, y'all.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Tania, I've kept you for an hour and 15. I can keep you for probably 20 hours, but we'll just keep bringing you on as much as possible now that I'm doing this remote. Hopefully we can do it more soon.
Thanks, Taylor. I always love talking to you, and it's always wonderful, and I'll come on as many times as you have me.
I appreciate you for everything you do. All right. Great to talk to you. Bye,
Thanks,
y'all.
Taylor. Bye.